Thank you for joining us today on HXGN TV. I'm your host, Kyle Phelan. Today we will be discussing reliability in challenging environments, pushing metrology beyond the shop floor. I'm joined today by Joel Martin, Laser Tracker Product Manager at Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence, and Joel Farnham, Regional Manager, West Region of Oasis Alignment Services. Guys, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joel Farnham, I'll start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about Oasis Alignment Services?
Certainly, Kyle. First off, thank you for allowing us to be here. It's a pleasure. We're excited about this opportunity. Oasis was founded in 1982, so we have 32 years of experience working in the field. We're the industrial leader in precision alignment, and over the course of the last 32 years, we've expanded to 8 service centers throughout the United States and Canada. All those service centers work in all of the industries that we provide service to. Pulp and paper, plastics, film, converting, corrugators, coaters and laminators, power gen, and of course aerospace.
Very nice. And you've recently formed a technology partnership with Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence. How was this formed?
Yeah, we did. We had a group of trackers that we owned, and we were running into failures periodically, and that just seemed to escalate over time. Failures with the equipment is just unacceptable in our industry. We get out, we go to our customers. It's hard enough to get your service folks from point A to point B. You certainly have to have reliable equipment once you get there. So what we did was we looked for partners, equipment manufacturers that manufacture reliable equipment for us to use. One such example was a job that we had. We had some water piping over the top of one of our trackers. We were working at a paper mill. This pipe burst and literally soaked the tracker. Got the water shut off, we pulled the tracker out, cleaned it off, dried it up, couldn't restart it. So after numerous phone calls to try and find a fix, it was just determined that we were out of luck. We had to ship the tracker back, had to have some repairs. The repairs amounted to about $35,000 worth of cost to us, plus an unhappy customer.
Right.
So those are things you just can't have as a service company, and that's what prompted us really to go out and look at a company like Hexagon.
And Joel Martin, to bring you in, is this something you worried about when you were designing the AT960 Absolute Tracker?
It absolutely is. I mean, laser trackers have been used, as Joel said, for decades in numerous different areas, from aerospace to automotive to some of the more challenging environments that Oasis Alignment works in. So when we set out to design a piece of equipment like a new laser tracker, we put a lot of effort into looking at the way that the operators are going to utilize the equipment, what they're going to utilize it for, and the environments that they're going to utilize it within. And I can actually show a picture here, if we can pull it up, of the instrument going through IP54 testing. And IP54 is a standard for ingress protection, so this is water and dust. In the picture, it looks like the laser tracker is sort of covered in snow. It's not snow, it's a very fine talcum powder. Okay. That they blow around with the instrument to verify that no dust can work its way inside the instrument. The other test, which works hand in hand with the use case that Joel brought up a moment ago, is a water test. So the equipment actually has water sprayed on it from all different areas and make sure that the water can't ingress into the system either. So this is something that we put a lot of work into, even in the early design stage of the product, to make sure that as we bring it into the more challenging environments and more challenging industries, that it'll do what the operators require and what the companies need. As Joel said, if failure is just simply not an option. They've got to get in. We've got to make sure that when the equipment turns on the first time and it runs. I've got another short video we can show if we pull it up. That is one of the drop tests that we do with the equipment as well. Talking about the instrument being covered in water or in dusty environments, that's one aspect, but getting it to the job site is another area. It would be great if we're always putting it in the back of our car and driving it, but sometimes you hand it to a shipping company, let them bring it there, or drive it 100 miles through pothole-driven roads as you get it from point A to point B. So again, a lot of what we do with the instrument and in the design process of the instrument is to make sure that when these guys pull it out of the box and when they turn the power switch on, it turns on every single time and runs reliably.
Great. What are the benefits that your customers are seeing from this partnership?
Well, the biggest one I'd have to say, and Joel touched on it as well, and it's the topic of this discussion today, is the reliability part. Reliability, 100% uptime is key. So you have reliability and repeatability. It has to be able to repeat. So when we get out there, we need our equipment to start up on time and be able to repeat. Time savings, certainly a time savings with the AT960s. They start up faster, which allows us to get to work quicker. And the power lock capability is a huge benefit. The power lock acquires a target, and sometimes it allows us to do the job with just one engineer rather than two engineers. But it's certainly a time saver if you don't continually lose your target. So that power lock, the reliability, and of course the T-probe, which Joel has brought with him today. The T-probe allows us to inspect areas that aren't accessible with the SMR. It's all line of sight, so there's certainly areas that we get into where the SMR can't fit in and can't have a line of sight. The T-probe extends that area for us, so that's a great benefit for us.
Okay. And Joel, you being the product expert, could
Yes.
you elaborate a little more on the T-probe for the AT960?
Absolutely. So this is, I have with me a T-probe, and Joel mentioned an SMR. And for the people that aren't familiar with laser tracker technologies, laser trackers measure to a prism. So in the center of the probe, I have a single prism here. Traditionally, that's a prism mounted in an 1.5-inch steel sphere. And we use that sphere to go off and touch on parts to get a result of where that artifact is. The problem is, as Joel mentioned, is line of sight. So between the laser tracker and that prism, you have to have a perfect line of sight. If something gets interrupted, there's ways to overcome that, obviously, but we try not to make it happen. Where the T-probe advantage is that we're actually measuring at the styli, at the tip of the probe. So the laser tracker sees the head of the probe, but the measurements are being done at the tip of the probe. Okay. So if I needed to measure something down here on the floor, I would have that ability with the laser still tracking to the prism rather than trying to track to the end effector. To do it, as I mentioned, we have a prism in the center of the probe, and we have a series of LEDs. And we're using two combination technologies. We're using the traditional laser tracker, the interferometer, to measure to the prism, and then we're using photogrammetry with the camera to measure to the LEDs. I've got another video that we can bring up quickly that is sort of the way that the T-cam measures on these LEDs. What's unique in the way that the AT960 measures to the probe is the fact that regardless of whether the probe is 1.5 meters away from the object or 25 meters away from the object, the field of view of the camera is always the same. It's just the head of the probe. So that keeps the rotational accuracy is really almost linear through the entire run process of the probe and what we're measuring to. So it allows companies like Oasis to be able to put long styli on, to be able to reach into areas that they didn't have access to before, and to be able to measure things that could have been done but would have taken multiple station locations or different line of sight orientations to be able to identify.
Thank you for that. It was very in-depth. Joel Farnham, what are some of the benefits that Oasis has seen?
Well, some of the benefits, we're a service company, so we go into different companies every day and perform our work. We don't always know what we're going to run into once we're there. So portability, easy setup, that's key to us. Typically when we're on site, there's other people on site as well, mechanical contractors. We have to move, we have to adjust to our environment. So the fact that this is so portable really benefits. The durability, the IP54, the video that we just saw, the IP54 is that classification. That's one of the reasons why we started to look at Hexagon. The problems I mentioned earlier with the issues that we had with our equipment, we need a piece of equipment that can stand up to the rigors that we put it through every day. A typical work week for us might be throwing the tracker in the van, drive off to a concrete plant, working on a ball mill outside. So you got the weather, you got the wind, you know, the humidity, the temperature, plus you have all the dust and the vibration and things like that. And it's a pretty tough environment. At the end of the day, we put it back in a van. We might drive to a paper mill the next day. It can be in excess of 100 degrees in there. If you've ever been in a paper mill, it's like a steam bath. There's steam in there, so grease, just the environments that we take this equipment to are pretty harsh. So this IP54 rating is key. And then you've got the power lock benefits that I'd mentioned earlier. The fact that they have built-in Wi-Fi and then the battery swap, just things that make that even so much more attractive to us. It helps our operators. The morale of our operators actually is much higher because they don't have to deal with a lot of things that they had to deal with traditionally with the other trackers.
That's great to hear. And how do you see this partnership becoming more of a vendor-customer partnership?
Yeah, it's good. One of the easy things to do is to put a piece of technology that was perfectly designed for the environment it's in into that technology. The feedback that you get from those customers is usually, yes, we love it. What we've done with the partnership with Oasis, they really utilize our equipment in things that, as I mentioned before, we try to think about in the design concept, but these guys find areas where we look at them and go, you want to do what? And that's fantastic because it helps us make a better product. With that feedback coming in and a customer that's constantly challenging those boundaries, constantly pushing what the equipment was designed to do and trying to use it at the edge of its limitations, it helps us build better products, and it helps us make sure that the products that we're developing, that we're bringing to market, are correct for the people and the industries and applications they need to be used for.
Well, gentlemen, I thank you both.
Thank you very much
for having me. Joel Farnham and Joel Martin. For more on Oasis alignment, you can go to oasisalignment.com, and to tune in and to watch more episodes of HXGN TV, log on to hxgntv.com. Thanks for watching.